Hello people of the internet, welcome back to the Armbar arcade and welcome back to Mega Drive Mondays with me, Nay. Today we've got a very special Mega Drive game for you. It's one of my favourite Mega Drive games of all time. You might recognise the theme music playing behind this. It is of course Streets of Rage, the original, and still the best in my view. So we're going to start a one-player game and we're going to choose Axel because he's my favourite character and the guy I always play as. So this is a beat-em-up slash brawler game where you go through the Streets of Rage, the titular Streets of Rage, and you clear out baddies as special cops, I think the guys are in Streets of Rage, and yeah, they're just trying to clean up the streets as far as I'm aware. So yeah, this is a Mega Drive game that I've played and completed a lot, usually in two-player format. Could have got AJ here today and got him to help me out with beating the game. But unfortunately we've both been pretty busy this week, so I've decided to go with something fairly easy and fairly familiar for this Mega Drive Monday. You got plenty of moves. You can jump, you can kick, you can punch, but there's only one attack button. One jump button, one attack button, and one special attack button that you should not press at any cost because you've only got one of them and you should save it for the bosses. So yeah, the Streets of Rage series is quite highly rated in terms of Mega Drive games. A lot of people seem to think that Streets of Rage 2 is the best Streets of Rage game. I would disagree. I think although they do have bigger sprites and there's like enemy health bars and some really good improvements on the original game, I need to stop getting hit by these guys. Come on, let's bottle a guy. So yeah, although there are improvements on this, the original game, I feel like it loses something in the transition to being a popular sequel. There's some little health power-ups. Apples do a little bit of health. Turkeys do quite a lot of health. We haven't got... I think it's supposed to be a ham, but it looks like a turkey to me, so I'm going to call it a turkey. Can you stop holding me, mate? There we go. We've thrown him over our shoulder. Perfect. So yeah, there's three cops who you can play as. There's Axel, there's Blaze, and then there's the other dude. When I used to play two-player, no one ever used to play as, I think he's, I'm not even sure of his name, that's how little we've played as him. But Axel and Blaze are the main combo, in my eyes, for Streets of Rage. They added a character, I think it's called like Skate or Scoot or something like that in Streets of Rage 2, but he's no fun either. It's all about the OGs. So I believe there we go, that's a ham. I guess it is a ham. Looking at it now, it looks like a ham, but I've always thought it looked a bit more like a roast turkey. Most times I played this game. It's got like a little bit of browning on it, like, you know, the turkey skin, how it goes a colour. So yeah, we've got some women with whips, of course, an essential for any game released in the early 90s. Some women with whips to beat up, apparently. You can throw knives, if you so choose, stab people with them. Here we go, so this is the boss of the first level. Massive guy with a machete. Here comes our special attack. It's some police backup. They've got a Lamborghini, they've got a rocket launcher, but they can only help us once per stage. Or once per life, to be more specific. So if I lose a life, I can call for their help again. But really, we don't want to take too much damage from this machete guy, because he's got like a boomerang machete, so it comes back to him. Not only will it hurt us if it hits us, but it hurts us on the way back as well. So we're going to try not to lose a life to this guy. We might have to, because we're quite slow walking around the map, and he does a fair amount of damage to us in each hit. There we go, so we've lost one life. Not the worst thing to happen though, because we can use our special attack and then we regain it on the next level. So he's going to get rocket launched, and that should pretty much do him for this level. There he goes. Little grunt as he dies. And that's level 1 complete. It's also got this awesome round clear music. I mean, the music in general is pretty good. I have it on... I have the soundtrack vinyl made by Data Discs. They do a lot of Mega Drive and Sega soundtracks on vinyl. Definitely recommend checking them out if you're into that sort of thing. So here's a sort of windy, slightly rainy Street of Rage that we're going to make our way down. We've got some more of these ginger guys in denim to fight. If they'd stop running away from us, that is. We've got this dude who's basically in a suit of armour with a mohawk. Is it a mohawk? It's hard to tell. We've got this power up which freezes enemies in place so you can hit them. Yeah, it's not a difficult game to pick up, but is it a difficult game to master effectively? Because obviously there's so many enemies, and the exact distances you need to be away from them so that they can't hit you is a bit of an exact science, really. And dealing with a couple of enemies at once is always fun. So we've just gained another life since we've gone over 50,000 points. You gain extra lives at every 50,000 points. Well, it's not every 50,000 points, it's every score ending in 50,000. So 50,000, 150,000, 250,000 and so on. Obviously you should have completed the game by about 350,000 points, I think. Aha! Now that's another extra life, so we've now got 4 lives. It's quite easy to go through and get a lot of extra lives in these early stages. I remember in 2-player mode specifically, you can get up to about 6 or 7 lives if you get all your power-ups effectively and use teamwork to the best of your advantage. A lot easier to finish the game in 2-player mode, because obviously you've got, I think you have slightly more enemies, but you have double the power-ups, double the special attacks, which work on both bosses. There's 2 bosses if you play in 2-player mode, so there are more enemies as well. But seeing as the special attacks work on both of them, it's twice as effective, so highly recommended that you grab a friend if you're going to play Streets of Rage. So these guys are what I call flippy guys. They flip around the place if you let them. You don't want to let them. Really the best idea is to contain them and attack them immediately where they are. There's another apple, so we're back up to full health. We're going to hit him with this iron pipe. A bit like Cluedo. It's Axel in the Streets of Rage with the iron pipe. Oh. I love those hit sound effects. Just, yeah. Definitely just sounding like someone hitting sheet metal there, rather than a man. Even in 2-player mode, we always find ourselves accidentally hitting the special attack button and then having nothing left for the boss. So that is... I assume my cart is a little bit dirty, because that guy isn't supposed to be jumbled. He's actually supposed to be like a fire juggler sort of dude. Hopefully the game doesn't start messing up. Maybe it's just the fire jugglers that are going to be slightly jumbled. Apologies for that. We are playing on a real Mega Drive with a real cart, so these things do happen with retro games. Hopefully he's the only guy that's jumbled. Otherwise we might be having some fun later on. There we go, that's what they're supposed to look like when they're not jumbled. It was like Missing No, wasn't it? Here's this level's boss. It's the guy I like to call Wolverine, so basically he has like claws and will attack you at will. Don't know if his real name's Logan, haven't asked. We're going to grab one of these special attacks because he's harder to hit than the first level's boss. Got rid of his minion anyway. So you might have to take a little bit of damage on this level just to get another special attack, but I don't mind. There's continues as well in this game, so we should be able to get a little way through the game at least and show you, you know, what's going on. I don't intend on completing this today, partly because it's pretty late. Obviously this is supposed to be going out Monday. It's currently Sunday night, so not much time left to record this episode. There we go, we're going to smash that guy. This Wolverine guy has insane reach, like insane speed and reach, in fact. Come on, we can get him, we can get him. Ah, the chance to hit him with the knife, has it passed? Yes, it has now, because we've thrown the knife at nothing. Anyway, that was the boss of the second level. Second level complete. So, it's time for Beaches of Rage. So we've gone off the Streets of Rage and gone to the Seaside of Rage. You'll find this is a theme with Streets of Rage, like it starts off on the streets and you're like, okay, these are the Streets of Rage, and then it just continues to go to different places of Rage. I mean, it's not official, they're not officially saying that this is the Beach of Rage, but I am. That's what I call this level, therefore that is what it's called. So the blue guys in denim have gone, we've got these guys in kind of green. Oh no, they're back. So yeah, we got their like powered up cousins. These are the green dudes. I don't know if it's green denim. Can you get green denim? Maybe. And then a flying knee. Nice MMA move to be included in this game is the flying knee. And he does a really excellent flying knee as well. I think it does the most damage of like any of his attacks. Either that or the knife. I mean, there's no one bringing a knife to the octagon. This is one thing me and AJ always say. If there's in professional wrestling, if there's like a no holds barred sort of no disqualification match, you know, what if you brought a gun to the ring? What if you brought a knife to the ring? Would that be the end of the match? How would that angle work? Obviously in the UFC there are rules, but in wrestling there's often these sort of no disqualification matches, and you think, well, there's got to be limits, otherwise it's just going to get silly. So we're going to use one of our 3 continues, because I don't usually die this early in the game, especially if we're playing with 2 players, but I seem to have got hit an awful lot where I'm just not able to use my full concentration to play the game because I'm explaining various things about the game. Another big flying knee. We're going to leave that health power up just in frame because we got some tough enemies to deal with, but the good thing is if we get 2 damage we can go and grab it and it'll still do nearly all of our health. We just can't let it get out of frame, otherwise we won't be able to grab it. You can't go back in this game. It's a classic sort of beat 'em up game where you have to scroll the screen forward constantly, getting rid of enemies. Right, we'll take the power up. There's another whippy lady. Another flippy man. So there's a good variety of enemies. You do see a lot of the same types of enemies, like recolors. But there's a good variety of different enemy styles. So, you know, there's guys with weapons, there's people who flip around, there's whips, there's bosses. And I think later on in the game you get mid-bosses as well. So some of the old bosses from earlier levels come back and they're like, hey, I'm just a mid-boss now, I'm not even the main event. So they did pretty well with what they had, like the capabilities of carts back in the day, especially since obviously this was what the earliest Streets of Rage game. Of course there's Streets of Rage 2 and Streets of Rage 3, which exist. I do mean to get a hold of Streets of Rage 3 at some point, but I'm aware it's fairly rare, I think, is a reason I don't have it. I don't see it about that much anyway, you know, sometimes at retro gaming markets or boot fairs I look for these sort of games and it hasn't cropped up that much, so I'm assuming it's at least a little bit difficult to find. Here we go, so we got to the boss with 1 special attack left. Hopefully we can hit them without getting hit ourselves. Here they are. They're incredibly fast. This is the boss I call, like, I think I call it the Ultimate Warrior sort of boss, because he looks a little bit like the Ultimate Warrior from WWE. I've got names for all these bosses, don't worry. So there we go, we special attacked him. He's down to 1 health bar, but he's incredibly fast, so if he can get into frame and hit us, then we can't really retaliate. We can only stay slightly out of his range and hit him at the very edge of his range. So we're going to do another special attack and hopefully take a little bit more of his health. Only half. We can flying knee him, but it has to be timed, because if we don't time it, then we just get hit. But then we can get, here we go, we're right on the edge of his reach, and hopefully, there we go, TKO victory. And he's going to die again. Nice. Now this one isn't really a street, but it's a something of rage. It's like an overpass of rage, I guess, because you'll see later there's some holes we can fall down. Or enemies can fall down. Hopefully enemies rather than us falling down them. But yeah, I always find with beat 'em ups, they're only really as good as their attacks, their enemy choice, their progression, their level design, you know. They're a simple type of game, so it's really about what's included in them rather than how they're executed. You know, if you can do a few moves and beat people up, then that's great. You know, the hit detection is a big part of especially early beat 'em ups. Stuff like Double Dragon. I remember on the Mega Drive, Double Dragon has absolutely terrible hit detection. You're like clipping through stuff and everything. You're like, I'm punching this man in the face and he's taking no damage, and then they can hit you from like several miles away. But there's none of that in Streets of Rage. There is a little freezy power up there, so he's going to freeze so we can hit him in the face. Grab his knife, stab his mate again, stab his other mate. flying knees for days. There's some money under there. So yeah, if we were to punch an enemy down this hole, that would be an instant death for them. If we were to fall down that hole, that would be an instant death for us, so that's good. Please, there we go, he's demonstrated it. Thank you very much, Mr. Purple Man. You've demonstrated the one-hit KO potential of the hole. Anyone else want to demonstrate? I didn't think so. So yeah, I'm not the biggest like beat 'em up or brawler fan really, but Streets of Rage really hit that sweet spot of like retro nostalgia, so the theme tune is amazing. I don't know if you've heard the original theme tune. Obviously at the beginning of this video there was the original theme tune, but all the way through it's just a wonderful sort of retro gaming song. There's obviously the backgrounds here which just look really nice and scroll. Like the nighttime sort of mood of the game is really nice. The music's great. Streets of Rage just hits that really sweet spot of it's fun, it's retro, it's classic, it's amazing. Definitely one of my favourite Mega Drive games. I mean, I've got a fair few. Mega Drive Mondays are set to continue for like the next while. There goes another man down the hole. But yeah, until I decide on a new complete series, we're going to be playing a few Mega Drive games, and I think it's good to go back to, you know, the retro classics. There's always Mega Drive collections on like the PS3 and all that, and they definitely have Streets of Rage and like a lot of the Sonic games and some other classics, but I think there's even more hidden gems really in the Mega Drive library that just don't get talked about. So we're going to try and find some of those and obviously play any suggestions that you guys have for Mega Drive games you'd like to see on the channel. And now it's time for level 4's boss, who is the fire breather. Here he is. He breathes fire, would you believe? Now the best thing to do for this guy is get him before he can breathe fire. If he's breathing fire, you need to stay out of his way. He's got a minion there, but basically he takes a second before he starts breathing fire. And if you can just land a flying knee or anything, or get behind him, there's a cut. Don't try and pick him up. That's the only thing you can't do. If you try and pick him up, you like break your back and literally it takes health off you. Anyway, we've only lost one life to him, so that's fine. Here comes our police backup. That should kill him off. Oh, he's got the tiniest bit of health left. I was going to try and punch him off screen, but it didn't work. Let's throw a knife at him instead. Nice. That's one way to kill a boss. Time for round 5, and this is where the strange places of rage come in. This is boats of rage, I would say. This isn't a street, this is a boat, so it's got to be boats of rage. There's a lovely view out there, out the porthole. We're not interested in that though, we're interested in all these bad dudes who need kneeing in the face simultaneously. This one's got a knife. And now he doesn't have a face. Kneed straight in the face there. Aha! 6 enemies at once, eh? 7. We're using all the Mega Drive's processing power here. All 16 bits of it. Best thing to do here is just attack in both directions and hope for the best, really. Nice flying knee there. He gets a lot of distance on his flying knees. I mean, if you were able to do a flying knee across the octagon like that, you'd be UFC champ in no time. Some more whippy girls. This time they're wearing black. Now, the thing about these ones is if you get too close, they just sort of stay on their knees and you can't really attack them. That being said, they can't attack you, so sometimes it's better to just stay on top of them and try and deal with the rest of them as a threat, because you take way less damage. These girls are quite aggressive with their whips, so as soon as you let them go, they gang up on you. They're quite dangerous. Who's the boss of level 5, you ask? It's these two ladies. Now, you saw the flippy men earlier. These are the flippy women. And wow, do they flip. So not only do they have a lot of health, they flip around like nobody business. And because there's 2 of them, you can't really keep track of both of them at once. We're going to have to be cheap, I'm afraid. There we go. Round 5 boss complete. We're going to grab our bonus and move on to the next stage. This is round 6. This is Factories of Rage. Now I feel like we may not get to round 7 and 8, so I'll tell you it's Elevators of Rage and then like Hotel Lobbies of Rage are the final stages of the game. I don't know why. Obviously, I guess they're working their way through the streets. It couldn't all be streets, but as the title is Streets of Rage, you would have thought it'd all be streets. I'm not complaining anyway. There's also these, which can crush you if you're not careful. Lots of hazards in Streets of Rage. Aha, here's a fire-breathing mid-boss. This might be the end of our run because they're quite difficult. Like I said, the game gets significantly harder when you're running it solo. So yeah, I think that's going to just about do it for our look at Streets of Rage today. I'm going to enter my name in the high score list, even though it's not a particularly high score. If you like this video, leave a like. If you're new here in the Armbar Arcade, subscribe. Leave in the comments your favourite beat 'em up game, so anything involving sort of walking through levels, beating people up. And I will see you next time in the Armbar Arcade.